John Boston Style Racing. We've got an 05 cylinder head today that we're going to port for a customer. It's a little different in that somebody's already done something to it. The intake ports, you can see how it's black a little bit right in the edge and then it's cleared further in. I think somebody's used some chemicals on this to clean it up or something, because usually the black goes all the way through on the intake ports. And you can see the combustion chambers are just completely clean. There's no carbon buildup at all on there. When we take a look in the exhaust ports, you can see that there's there's a little bit of carbon, but very little. It's like as if someone had cleaned this up chemically and then ran it for a short time. And so we're going to see what we can do. Other than that, it's all stock. It hasn't been ported or milled or anything. You can still see all the machining marks here from the factory where the gasket matches. So we're going to see what we can do with this. Yeah, another thing I've noticed here is that it must have been sitting for a while. As you can see, there's some rust. This is the worst one. One of the valve heads had a little bit of rust on it, just on the surface. Doesn't look like it'll be a problem, but there's rust in each one of these right inside on the valve seats themselves. But I think we'll be alright. So we're going to cut the valves, we're going to mill the head, and do the porting. So all of these areas will be like brand new when we're done. Okay, the first area we're going to start on is going to be the intake port area. As you can see, perhaps right here where Yamaha has chamfered a tiny little edge, and on some of the opposing areas near the top you can see there's a chamfered edge there, just a little bit. We're going to blend that area into the intake throat overall and just make it a more gradual transition. It's not about removing tons of material, it's about where you remove the material. Okay, now I flipped the head upside down. I change the angles often to keep it rounded out and to be able to access areas that you need to get to. Now you can see the color variation here. You can see where Yamaha made their chamfered edge here just a little bit, right here and here. Now you can see that I've enlarged that chamfered area and moved on down into the throat there. If you see the clean edge here, if you compare the width of the edge here with the width of the edge here, you can see that I haven't enlarged anything at all. I haven't changed the size of it one bit. I've just moved the chamfer to a more gradual transition into the throat here. Another area we focus on, it's probably difficult to see in this light, that's why I've removed just a little bit of material on the top. You see the line that runs straight down here, the casting marks. You can see it runs right along there. I hope I'm highlighting it well enough. It runs all the way down on both sides, down each one of these. And we'll just be smoothing that out. Any casting imperfections that you see, globs of stuff, lines, any of that, you'll be removing along the way. I just wanted to stop at this point. While I had some of the material removed, it leaves a little bit of dark edge to highlight that area for you. Okay, now you can see I've finished with all of them. I've just taken the chamfer that came stock from the factory, blended it down into the throat. That's all I've done on the intake side here. I haven't enlarged the outside opening at all. Maybe tad bit here and there accidentally, but that was never the intent, was to make it any larger here than it is. That's plenty big already. Next we'll focus on another area, which I'll point out to you in just a second. Now we're going to work on where the seats meet the throat. See, valves always meet on what they call a seat that has been inset into the head. The head's made of aluminum. At the temperatures and the pounding of the valve shutting over and over, the aluminum would quickly be beaten, out of shape and would no longer work. So what they do is they press in a seat. It's made of much harder material, and when they press that in, I'm sure it's hard to see, but you can hear the little click there. It doesn't line up correctly. They just press it in, and then once again, as they did with the intake chamfer, you see Yamaha has done a little bit of smoothing here. I don't know what kind of tool they use. They just jam something in there real quick that kind of cleans up a little bit of it, but it leaves quite a bit to be desired. If you were here, you could actually fit your finger in there like I can. You can feel there's a relatively large section that doesn't meet at all. So what we're going to do is on the sides where the seat sticks out, we're going to remove just the edge of the seat. On the sides where the seat is inset and the cylinder port throat sticks out, we're going to remove that part of the cylinder throat. Just to make so the whole thing matches up neatly, so when the air comes through, it's not going to hit anything irregular and cause a turbulent flow right in that area. It's right at the seat transition. The seat and the valve is where it goes into the combustion chamber. You don't want to have a lot of turbulence and distortion right at that area. You want that to be a very high velocity, very high flowing area. You may also be able to see this head was stored for some period apparently. It's got this one in particular has quite a bit of rust. See all this rust built up on there? There's gobs of it. But we're going to clean that up, and we're going to cut the valve seats as well when we're done, so this will be just like brand new. That won't be a problem in this case. Okay, now as you can see, perhaps I've matched the seat to the throat, and it's a nice smooth transition right through there all the way around, and then we'll go to the next point of interest, which will be the dividers in the intake track. Okay, the intake track dividers are right here that separates each individual port, throat, and valve area. I'm going to knife edge these, just make them smooth and thin so that the air doesn't hit and get turbulence there. Some people say that the rounded edge is better. I like the knife edging, unless you're holding a degree in fluid dynamics, who can say? Yeah, I don't know how well you can see down in there, but see the ribbing, the divider area in between each one of these? So it's pretty well knife edged there. It's pretty thin as compared to the rounded effect we had earlier. See if I can get you some light there. So those ones are more rounded. Yeah, so I've knife edged these ones. And so we've started here with our outer chamfer, and we've just blended that from here to here, made it a more gradual transition. We went to the seat area, which was misaligned, and we aligned the seat area, and now we've knife edged the dividers. Now I'm just going to simply connect the dots. I'm going to make everything flow smoothly from one point to the other, and just smooth the whole thing out and connect it all. It's not all about removing a ton of material and just making it bigger. It's all about making it flow better, and that's what we're going to do. On the exhaust ports, the seats were just about opposite. The intake throat stuck out further than the seat. You can see by the clean section here, I've already ground. See, this one you can't see, but when I go in, I hit a ridge right here. The seat lines up pretty well on all of these on the other half here, but on this part, I needed to take out some of the throat to line it up with the seat. So in this case, I just used the seat as a guide. Run the carbide burr right along the seat, and then around in a circle, and just clear this section right on through. Okay, now that I've got a little more into the exhaust ports, you can see here, I had already removed some material from the port wall on the other side here, and as far as I could tell, the seat was pretty lined up with the port wall. But you can see because of this dark area here, see how it's clean further in? When I'm running my bit across here, you can see that the seat sticks out a little further than the port wall. That's why it's leaving this dark area here. It's happened on every one of them. Some of them a little more than others, but that's our clue. We can use texture differences, we can use color differences. You can, as you're working it, you'll see what stands out as a low spot and what is not because of the change in color and the change in texture as you run various bits over it. So I am going to remove some material from this side of the seat. I've already done the port wall on the other sides of all of these. I'm going to clean up these seats just a little bit on the inside here, so that way we can get a nice smooth transition in there. Okay, now the intakes, here's where the different textures come into play. See, I've polished the intakes just enough to where I can see, where the imperfections are. You can see it's not perfectly smooth. There's little divots here and there, little scratches here and there. But on the intake side, we're going to re-rough up this. We're not going to leave it polished. The intake's going to get a semi-roughed finish anyway. So by polishing this, I can tell that there's nothing that's larger than the rough surface I'm going to put in it anyway. So the intakes are pretty well done at this point. See, the exhaust ports we're going to leave a lot smoother. They'll be pretty much what you call polished. You can see they're pretty smooth in there. There's a couple imperfections here and there that I'm still working on, but the exhaust is looking pretty good at this point too. It's got another hour or two left of work on it, and then this head will be ready to go to the machine shop, and we'll get it milled and multi-angle valve job cut in it, and then it'll be ready for reassembly. Okay, so if you compare this to the beginning when we first started, you can see everything's been smoothed and it's going to flow a lot nicer. But now that I polished it down to where I could see the imperfections, now I smoothed out those imperfections and then I re-roughened the surface. On the intake, you want the surface a little bit rough. It's kind of like a golf ball. They tried round, smooth golf balls, and they don't fly as far as golf balls that are dimpled. The intake ports you want to have a roughened surface because it's going to flow better, regardless of what it looks like. Okay, now we're finished with the porting and polishing part here. Trying to get some good light. Let's try here. You can see that the intake ports, if I get out of the shadow, are roughed up again, but the exhaust ports here and here, I've polished those. The intake ports, you want velocity, you want turbulence to atomize the fuel, and the intake is being sucked in under the pressure of the piston, or the negative pressure of the piston being pulled down. The exhaust is actually being pumped out. It's being pushed out when the piston comes back up. So the exhaust, we're not concerned about atomizing fuel or getting a turbulent flow or anything. So that's why we polish that side. Not necessarily to increase flow, but to prevent carbon buildup or discourage carbon buildup. Because you get a bunch of carbon built up in there, what are you going to get? You're going to get reduced flow. So that's why we roughen one side and polish the other. Now this one's ready to go to the machine shop where we're going to get the valve seats cut. All the seats will be cut, all the valves are going to get cut so that they seal securely, and it's going to flow better also. We're going to mill the surface of the head to get a good clean flat gasket surface ready, and then we're going to be all set to reassemble and send this out. Okay, so we've got the head back from the machine shop. we had the head surface where the gasket will go milled down so that it's completely flat and smooth. It'll make a good seat for the gasket. Won't have any leakage there. And it also increases the compression slightly. That'll help with torque and power. And then we had the valve seats cut, adding multiple angles to them, and the sealing surface angle cut on the valve seat and on the valve itself right here. They both have the same angle cut on them so that they're going to seal properly. And because both of those were cut, and it drops in there, what that does, it's a very small amount, but that makes the valve drop deeper into the head there, or higher up when it's on the bike. So you're going to have to adjust the valve shims to get the right adjustment on that. If you don't adjust the shims and you have the valves sticking up higher, the valves are going to hit the cams sooner or more, and it's going to prevent the valves from closing completely, and you'll be losing combustion gases out in both intake and exhaust valves. And also from this angle you can see that we've re-roughened up the intakes. The intakes are slightly roughened. You know, they get smoothed down, polished down, so you can see the imperfections. And then when you finished, I roughed them back up because the rough surface flows better than the smooth surface. On the exhaust side, we want them polished. You can see they're all shiny. That prevents excessive carbon buildup. Another thing you want to do when you rebuild a cylinder head is you have to remove the valve guide seal. See, these are the valve guides right here. That's what the valve comes into. The stem would be sticking up out of there, and then the spring and the whole assembly, the retainer assembly, goes over the top of that. The guides are these little tiny things here, and they slip over the valve guide itself, the kind of the stem there, and that's what seals very closely around the valve itself. It'll ride right around here, and that's what keeps the oil controlled, and so you don't have oil running into your combustion chamber the whole time. That's very important, especially when you're rebuilding rebuilding a head to new specs. You don't want to be burning oil. It's just they're $5-6 a piece, but it's money well spent. Alright, the valves are all back in. It's reassembled. I'm gonna put this back in the box and send it out to Brian, and this one's looking good.